Hey guys, I hope the beginning of 2021 has been good to you so far. Today's video is the first in a series of 8 that I'll be coming out with over the next 2 months in conjunction with my transformation challenge. So the topic that I'll be covering today is effective at-home workouts. More specifically, workouts with very limited equipment. Now I want to preface this with one thing. Exercise and workouts are a very small fraction of what it takes to be a balanced and healthy individual. It's the sexy part of health and fitness that everybody loves to talk about. That's why you see so much of it all over Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's only a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. Now, I actually wrote a blog on this topic back in May when we were going through our first lockdown here in Portland. The second lockdown is a little bit less restricting, but gyms are still shut down. My blog back then covered the efficacy of at-home workouts without any equipment, and if it's possible to still achieve your goals, even though we don't have access to weights or machines. I broke the answer into 3 parts, and it's based off of whatever your goal is. So if your goal is to increase your cardiovascular capacity, that's one. If your goal is to burn fat, that's the other. And if your goal is to gain muscle, that's the last one. First, I'll cover cardiovascular capacity. That's kind of the most obvious one. If you're a very deconditioned individual, go for a long walk, and then progressively do more. If you are fairly conditioned, go for a run. If you're very conditioned and want to challenge yourself, do sprint intervals. These are all effective ways to increase your cardiovascular capacity without any equipment whatsoever. Now, if your goal is to burn fat, you might ask yourself if it's possible to do that without access to weights, machines, or a gym in general. And the answer is yes. And this actually relates back to a common misconception that most beginners have in fitness, and that's that they have to kill themselves every single day with cardio in order to achieve that fat loss goal. It's just not really the case. Actually, in most cases, high intensity bouts of exercise, near maximal in most cases, actually burns more overall calories over a span of time in comparison to low intensity steady state cardio. The main idea around this is that after very high intensity bouts of exercise, your body goes into this thing called epoc. Epoc stands for excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. Basically, it means all these processes that your body has to go through in order to return to a resting rate. And that includes restoring venous blood oxygen, resynthesizing blood and muscle glycogen, restoring hormone balance, turning body temp back to normal, buffering through lactate. All of these metabolic processes take vast amounts of energy, and they don't happen quickly. It takes time. So if you were to compare overall training volume from low intensity to high intensity, it actually is more effective in most cases to do shorter, higher intensity bouts of exercise in comparison to longer, lower intensity bouts of exercise. Now, this isn't to discredit low intensity steady state cardio for a fat loss goal. Each training modality has their time and place, but that's a topic for another video. Now, lastly, if your goal is to gain muscle, one might think that you have to have access to a gym with weights and machines in order to achieve that goal. But that's actually not the case. I found this really interesting study that was done back in 2016 by B.R. Counts et al. And what they did is they took a group of 13 test subjects, both male and female, and they broke them into 2 different groups. The first group was given a training protocol of unilateral elbow flexion with a load of 70% their 1 rep max. I know that's super jargony, but I'll get to it in a second. The second test group was given instruction to squeeze as hard as they could through range of motion. They were asked to be mindful of the movement without any external load whatsoever. What's so interesting about the conclusion of the study is that they found after 18 training sessions, there was little statistical difference between the high load group and the no load group. They concluded that muscle growth can occur independent of external load provided there are enough muscle fibers undergoing mechanotransduction. Basically what this means is that you don't actually need weights in order to grow your muscles. Muscle growth can occur if you really focus on squeezing the muscles during movement. Now, here's the funky part of the study. Remember when I said the training protocol was a unilateral elbow flexion movement? That's just fancy talk for a bicep curl. What I personally would have liked to seen out of the study is some sort of multi-joint, multi-muscle compound movement, like a squat, a hip hinge, a push or a pull, and see if the same principle can apply. But for the sake of this video, we'll say that it does. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is based off the study, external load isn't as much of a factor as previously considered. It's actually just as important to think about the movements that you're going through. Don't just go through the motions, move with purpose. Think about what you're doing. Overall, guys, the point that I'm trying to make is that if you have any one of these 3 goals, whether it's increasing your cardiovascular capacity, burning fat, or even gaining a little bit of size, it's possible to do that without access to a gym or really any equipment. Hope you guys found this video useful. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. Next week's video, we're gonna be talking about all the things outside of exercise that count towards your activity level. Until then, hope you guys have an awesome week. Those that are participating in the challenge, good luck with your first week, and I will see you later. Peace.